Good afternoon, everyone. I am so pleased that you are here at the Road Green Gallery or online. I am Erica Hartman-Purvis, co-chair of the Cleveland Israel Arts Connection, a program of the Jewish. To Beneath the Paint, Artists Talk with Shony Rivnay. As many of you know, the goal of the Cleveland Israel Arts Connection is to connect our community with the most dynamic 21st century cultural experiences that Israel has to offer. And there are many varied and very wide and all excellent. In 10 years, we have helped bring over 100 Israeli artists to Cleveland and partnered with over 50 fine arts organizations. And this includes all of the arts: film, music, theater, literature, dance, fashion, design, and today about visual art. If you have not received the spring summer brochure or virtual arts events, please visit thejewishcleveland.org for a digital copy. Before we begin, I want to thank a few of you. First, a hearty thank you to my co-chair and honorary producer, Ro Green, for her leadership and vision. Thank you to the sponsors of the Cleveland Israeli Arts Connection, the Ro Green Foundation, the Leonard Krieger Fund of the Cleveland Foundation, the Jack Joseph and Morton Mandel Foundation, and the Consulate General of Israel in New York. Thank you also to the Arts Advisory Group and the Patron Society who support the Cleveland Israel Arts Organization throughout the year. This program would not exist without your support. And today, Shony Rivnay is with us. He is an interdisciplinary Israeli-American artist based in Tel Aviv, Israel. He works in various media, including painting, sculpture, video, installation, and performance. He has exhibited solo shows in numerous locations around the globe, including Berlin, Germany, Venice, Tokyo, South Korea, as well as Tel Aviv, and many exhibits in New York City. Rivnay's works are in private and public collections all over the world. Shony holds a BFA from Bezalel Academy of Arts and Design in Jerusalem. For those of us who are here in the gallery today, we have enjoyed an opportunity to view Shony's works in person. I have been especially fortunate to work with Shony to curate this exhibit. We will all be able to ask Shony questions about his work in unfolding nature, dancing through the waves, as well as his new work. He will visit us very soon from his studio in Tel Aviv. Taking a first look at the exhibit, we see broad gestures, expansive color forms, and precise paint spots that create movement. This is the exhibit list. Shony spent part of his childhood watching his father work as an entomologist. And now we can see a clear connection between his abstract images and his father's precise sketches of the elements of the small insects. As an artist, Shony expanded his creative intentions to varied material, shapes, and patterns that are repeated over and over during the course of his artistic practice. Shony's artistic practice begins with the spontaneous drawings created with acrylic, pencil, and/or ballpoint pen that become the foundation of the images in the larger canvases. He experiments with different combinations of acrylic and oil paint, polyurethane, silicone, and epoxy to create his own dialogue of forms and images on the paintings. Time is also a very important theme in Shony's artwork. For the past 15 years, he has made drawings on a daily basis on a large scroll of paper. A video of Shony's scroll work process is on his website, and I hope that we see some in his studio. I would like to offer you some thoughts to ponder as we tour Shony's exhibit on Zoom today and his studio. Perhaps he is trying to make sense of our universe that are filled with diversity and tension, and creating gestures and patterns that may have a recognizable logic. Indeed, we can find order in his abstraction. If you are online, you can type your questions in the chat box. In person, we have Q&A cards that you can use to write your questions. And in order to make us feel as if we are all in the same room, please put your videos on your computers so Shony can see your faces. Over the past 2 years of the pandemic, we were hoping that Shony could visit Cleveland in person to share his insights, but that was not to be. Now we have the next best thing. Shony speaking with us live from his Tel Aviv studio via Zoom. Welcome, Shony Rivnay.
Hi, everybody. Wow. Very exciting. Thank you for coming over, because the idea is to have some kind of studio visit, not a real lecture. And I hope, although you're not here physically to see some of the work in real size, I hope I will be able to transfer some of the energies and the feelings I have here in the studio. So since you are here, I will welcome you with my gong. Which I actually do to anyone who comes to the studio. And the thing is really, the whole thing is about vibration, about frequency. That's my work is all about. So before we, by the way, Erica, thank you for the introduction. It was really interesting to hear you. So this is the studio. As you can see, and that's actually through the pandemic, 2019 and 2020, I was really into large size pictures. As you can see behind me, I'm going to stand next to it so you will feel the size. So it's about 3.5 meters and 2 meters. The whole idea doing big size paintings was kind of a, I think, reaction to the situation where everybody were consuming life only through the little screen of the telephone. And I love paintings that are bigger than myself. It holds me. It's not that I hold a piece of art or an object. It holds me, and it's really different experience. See it in real life. Today I'm more of the other size, 2 meter or 2.5 or 260. So that's the studio. If I take it a little to over there, that's the way I work. I work on the floor, on my knees. I have protections to my knees, and I work from all sides. There is no up or down or left or right, because the finished painting can be hanged anyway. Depends, of course, on the place, what's next to it, how is the wall, etc. And it gives me some kind of freedom, not to decide what is up and what is down. In the background, it's heavy. I don't have the camera working with me, but I will go over. This is a roll. Actually, the second one. I have another one there for 16 years. And I will show you this one. Okay, so I know it's hard. You can't really see the top. You can't really see the paintings. But the first 10 years, by the way, you can see on my web, shonyrivnay.com. Yeah, I'm dealing with time. I'm doing many things. So I have one thing that I moved for 30 years with my son. And, in those 20 minutes, I can't show everything. But I love playing with time and do things over and over again. For example, I have books all around, and I have small canvas and big canvas, and I just okay. So I'm going one page after page after page. It's not every day, but I don't think about those things, and that brings me into the question. Not question, but few main subjects I can say about my work. One, I'm trying not to come up with stories. When I say story, obviously we all know how important that tool that's called story. I mean, for our mankind to understand the history, to understand culture. I mean, story is really good way to explain to ourselves things. Somehow lately, I have some kind of negativism towards story. I mean, I've done a lot of stories. I've been in advertising for a few years, and I did conceptual art in the past and minimalism. And I was dealing with stories, and I was dealing with images. But, I mean, stories today, look how it works for us. I mean, one guy with that story decided to go to war in Ukraine. And, I mean, religious, those people with that story would do, would conquer, would kill the other people with the other stories. And even on the basic, on the personal level, we go to the shrink with our stories, and we carry our stories. And I feel like more comfortable not to deal with stories. And I'll get back to it in a few minutes. The other thing is images. I mean, I'm dealing with images. Many years doing images, and nowadays not doing it 180 degrees from the other side, but it's the same kind of conversation. The reason I do it, our brain, have to explain ourselves things. I mean, when we look at the clouds, we can see, a tree or a running dog or something. I mean, only when we understand, we feel better, we feel comfortable. Okay, we now know where we are. But our understanding, I mean, the world is so big and so amazing. And our spectrum, for example, our spectrum of light and colors is so small, considering the range that might have. And we try, to explain everything. I'm not trying to explain. I like the place where the brain feel uncomfortable. What do I see? Do I see a landscape? Do I see people? Do I see images? Do I see a tree, a monkey there? And, you can't get away with it. It's funny, I'm sitting here with people and explain them my whole pseudo theory, And they say, yeah, I got it. But look, that donkey over there is amazing. So, that's one part of the place I have. Let me start to show some stuff. Actually, that's the within direction. I created for those studio visits a very complicated tool. I take. Okay, that would be here, that would be here. And before I start with this one, I want to show you some drawings. Some drawings that my father was working on as a scientist. So the whole idea was to look at the microscope and get the organs of the insects for his books, for his scientific books. And some of them are really, really abstract painting. There's another one I have at hand. This is when people were drawing on paper, writing in ink, different eras. So as a child, 8 years old, 10 years old, this was my environment, and I was living on those images, and somehow it got quite strong in my blood. I started my studies in Jerusalem, in Bezalel. And you can even see I have some etchings from the 70s that I did as a second-year student. Even here, you can see how I'm dealing with particles. I'm dealing with elements, with chaos and order. What are these elements? And when you look around, that's what comes out now. And let me, how much time? Just to see how is the time. Okay. Now, this is amazing because you're sitting in a current exhibition in Cleveland, exhibition that started in the beginning of 2020, but the pictures are from 2018, 2017. And current exhibition there, and we are 4 years later, I can show you real, it's like a time machine. So this is the artist who have that exhibition over there in your building, and look what happened 4 years later. So I will start with some pictures here from the same time. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So when Debbie, you showed me the show now, it's really from the same time, same year. It was much more graphic than at that time. I love more the clean surface, the less elements. The light is okay. Another one. So this is just kind of a reminder where I was 4 years ago, and we will jump to our days. That's a studio visit. So working process, physical process. Today I'm doing work with acrylic and with oil, and I will show some of the work that's been done this year, last year. Is it clear enough? But obviously, if you want to see my work in a better way, it's either in my on my site or my Instagram. Yeah. So where is my passion? Was it? Okay. Hold on. Yeah. So you hear me, right?
Yes.
So where is my passion? What am I dealing with? If I'm not making stories, I mean, what is that abstract art? So my passion is the macro and the micro. When you look at pictures from telescopes all the way, millions of light years with all the galaxies, and on the other hand, you look at pictures from the microscope, from the electronic microscope, with all those viruses and all those chemistry and nanobiology, and sometimes you look at the pictures and it just look the same. So the macro looks exactly as the micro, and let me just get, yeah. And there are some theories that I kind of hold, which helps me with my pseudo theories. If you know what is cymatics. Cymatics is the physical effect of sound on little particles like sand. If you put sand on metal and you have some kind of frequency sound, those little particles are moving and arranged in a kind of a pattern. And when you change the pitch, they also, they're changing their pattern. So there is actually a frequency that have impact on matters. So would it be maybe that there is some kind of frequency that arrange the entire world with some kind of order and chaos, and everything is just those little particles like sand? So I'm saying it because lately, I think only in the last 5 years, looking back to what I did for the last 50 years or 40 something years, I realized I'm doing the same. But I didn't know it when it happened. My work, if you look at my site, were different. I had all kinds of things I did, but looking back now, I can see the connection. And all of a sudden I understood that if I'm doing the same all my life, and if there's some kind of frequency that arranged the world in some kind of order, maybe I should just let go. And that's my frame story. I built some kind of a frame story that inside I'm just playing. I'm like a kid. I don't know what I'm doing. I start and then start some kind of conversation with the canvas. It tells me how to continue, or it suggests ways, and it's just a kind of a dialogue with no words and no feelings and no stories but the whole world is there. Is it the macro? Is it the micro? Is it the, what is it? And also talking about images, I mentioned before, it's not that I'm just doing abstract. Yeah, I do suggest some kind of, I'm doing some kind of little manipulation, but that's why the work look a bit different. איך נבין זמן? 20 minutes. So I would just, if it's okay with you, I would like to leave time for questions and.
Shony, I have one question. You intend that your work not be seen in any dimension particularly, so you work on the floor and it could be the top or the bottom, and yet when you place the paintings to show us, you place them in a very deliberate manner, and they looked right to us, or we felt, was that just coincidence? Or
No, because at some point, since if I want to show it, I do have to, I want to decide. Because in my mind, at some point, showing it this way works for me. But, you know, maybe put it, and also my signature, I sometimes suggest with my signature the position I like.
Right.
But when you come to a specific site, or when you come to and you place it, it becomes just, you know, like I'm dealing with the particles. But let me put some other one. Okay. Yeah, I do have a very interesting. So, you know, my pictures could be that size, and it could be like, you know, 5 meters. So these are elements and the connection between them, and what's far, who's influenced who, and there's some kind of order in that chaos. And the order is the fact that I'm doing it, and I keep doing it, and each time I'm trying to do different things, and in the end, it just goes by itself to where it goes. So
that's terrific. And my second question was, it seems as if your later work that you're just showing us now is more concerned with three-dimensionality. Do you
yes,
work with that intent? Explain to us how you work with that intent, please.
Okay. I think 4 years ago, as I mentioned, it was more graphic. I love the idea of a very clean surface, being more precise, playing with all kinds of tools. The more the process got on, I had to depend less on tools and patent, if I would say it this way. And even though the elements are closer by the way I made them, I mean, I kind of like today that things are getting more one to each other, and it creates the 3D. Yes, I definitely want the sometimes, or most of the time, the dimension, who's in the front, what is the background. It's, for me, it's more interesting and dramatic a little bit.
We can see that as the viewer. We can.
Right.
Do we have any questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I had one on, I thought I saw ceramics in your painting. Is there, or is it just high gloss paint or something?
It's, I'll show you, yeah, I'll show you one from that time. Yeah, that's from 1970. Anyway, 2000, yeah.
Yeah, breaks this.
So, yeah, this is epoxy. epoxy or polyurethane, but I worked at that time. I did it one after one with pigments. Let me show it a little closer. So it's not ceramics, but it is some kind of material. In fact, just yesterday I did something, and the rest I was throwing on the floor on the nylon, and that's what we did. So yeah, it is three-dimensional stuff. There's one thing I want to show you, because after all that talks about stories and images, I did something interesting a few days ago. Was it? So, yeah, it's a little 30 by 30. I love that little size. I'll show you a lot of them, but I had to do that 3 paintings because somehow I got it so hard. This unexpected situation in Ukraine. So yeah, here and there, of course, you do some images and story. You're a human being after all. But yeah, that's where I am now.
Shony, I have a question. You've had a long career. First of all, thank you for inviting us in your studio today. This has been fascinating to see this. I'm just sorry we're not there in person. As your work has changed and shifted over the years, do you find that you actually make a conscious decision at some point that I'm ready to move into another area, or is it something that just happens and inspires you? And I'm especially curious since you've said a lot about not being influenced by stories, and yet your work changes. So how can you explain a little bit about that?
Definitely, the answer is very simple. Every few years, I'm telling to myself, now I'm doing this, and that's what I'm doing for the rest of my life. Let me show you an example. I'm showing only the catalog, but you will understand. I was dealing with the Israeli word, ehevuni, do love me, please love me. Some kind of desperation. The one talks to the plural, whoever you are, love me. Now, I did it before, or the same year, where Facebook started with this. And the whole idea was the understanding how people need the love, the assurance, the hug, the acknowledgement, that people will look at them. And I said to myself, from now on, for the rest of my life, I'm writing Ehevuni. So I will show you just some of the images that I did for a few years, actually. I did it for a few years. There were always some kind of image, and I wrote with pencil, Ehevuni. Each work took me a few weeks. So you see, at that time, I thought I'm dealing with the word Ehevuni. What do I see now? I see elements and some kind of vibration or electromagnetic kind of waves around them, who's together, who's against, who's with. And all of a sudden, there are elements and some kind of connection. So yes, I am moving sometimes with a big decision. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But this is about 3.5 meters. So now I look at it differently, and I see the connection somehow.
Shony, we have a question in the chat, but first, after seeing that work, can you show us the front of the car that's in your studio that has the same kind of lettering? I don't know if you can.
Hi, I'm taking you all the way to the right. Coffee water. Let me see. Okay, so I'll go over there. By the way, the big one you have seen behind me, I have 40 of those. 40. But how many places you can hang 3.5 feet long? Especially when new apartments are always glasses, you know, we are living in towers sometimes and there's like just glasses. Anyway, on the background, you can see a BMW hood, which was, you hear me from here?
Yeah.
Which was engraved by laser, and it's like a lace. So when I show it in exhibitions, I have some light behind, and it looks like you can see through thing. So yeah, I was dealing. I had all theories about love, Yes.
The question from the group is, you paint on several different sized canvases and paper. How do you experience the difference between painting on a small scale versus medium and large?
Great question, because I'm dealing with all the time. I love the big ones. I mean, the 3.5 meters, you just walk on it and hardly work with oil. But let me show you those little guys here. Okay, so actually it should be this way. So it won't. I will stand here. Okay. I would be the background. Okay, so 30 on 30 is really wonderful size too. The challenge moving from one size to another is enormous, because what I'm doing, I'm actually working. When I start a new session, I have one big canvas on the floor. I have one of those 110 on the other side. I have 2 or 3 of the small ones. I have the books on the side, and I have that rolling table. So I always start with many. Touch it here, touch it there, almost like a chess player who play with many players. But the more the process goes on, I put those on the side, I put those on the side, and in the end, I'm just straight with one, and I have the whole conversation with one size. It's different working on different size. Sometimes I want the impact of the small ones on the big ones. But it's different movements. I mean, you need tools, you need to create. It's just different challenge.
When I had the pleasure of visiting your studio pre-pandemic, you were working on some, were they rockets? Were they shells?
Yeah, that's okay. Do you want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. That was another story. My son, he still wants to move with the family to live in New York. We used to live in New York in the 80s. And I'm talking about years ago, 2010, thinking, so where is better to live? I mean, do I want him here in Israel? Do I want him in the States? What kind of a place is Israel? There's few 100,000 missiles aiming towards us, and we are doing conceptual art. So at that time, I decided I'm going to make rockets. I'll show you one of them. Whew, they're too big. Hold on. This one is heavy, very heavy. Okay, this is this is my one of the missiles with the patterns of William Morris from the 19th century. And yeah, I did a few of them. I sold a few of them. And again, if I want to look back and see what's the connection with what I'm doing here, is I'm always fascinating with patterns. If you look at my work as a student, I dealt with patterns since then. So yeah, okay. Yeah. So if anyone wants a good, wonderful rocket to your home,
Imagine that would be hard to ship, but
there's a collector in Miami that has one in the kitchen. Yes, it comes with a wooden box. Really nice. Yes, so I did different things, and luckily, really, somehow, with the years, with the knowledge, you let go of things and you stay with some kind of truth that comes out.
Would you tell us, Shony, please, a little bit about your American background, how you became an American citizen, and
Okay, you see, that's the idea. I started in fine art department in Bezalel. The third and fourth year, I started to do all kind of conceptual art that dealt with social things. For example, 1978, I was third year student, and I came to school as a VIP with 2 camera people, with a bodyguard and translator, with ties and everything. And the head of the department, Ben Shaul, Teddy Ben Shaul, got me over there and we shook hands, and he took me for 3 hours tour in school. Later on, it got into the Tel Aviv Museum as an important art from the 70s. But what I'm trying to say is that those works got me into advertising. I thought I'll get into advertising. I'll be able to make some money also, but I will use the material to my artwork. But very fast, I just drawn in, and I was so fascinated by the creative process of advertising, obviously only as an art director. And since I came from the conceptual art of art school, I think it helped me to be somehow a better art director, because it was not just you do things beautiful or nice or whatever, but you come up. I mean, the whole idea is the concept leads into the design. You have to have a concept. So I got into advertising. I worked 7 years in Tel Aviv. And then I said to myself, well, if I'm doing quite nice here in Tel Aviv, what would it be if I would do it in New York? And at that time, no internet and no friends and nothing. I was walking with my portfolio in the snow of February '86, and I got the job on Madison Avenue. It was Doyle Dane Bernbach at that time, became DDB Needham, and now it's DDB, part of Omnicom. And I lived in New Jersey, in Demarest, and every day I went to New York for 7 years. And then some of my friends opened an agency here, and they said, come over. My son was already 14. My wife said, if we would stay too long, he wouldn't like to come back to Israel. So let's go when he's still 14. And we came back, I joined the agency, we did well, but my son still wants to go to New York. So that's, yeah, I loved working there, trying to do different things. You see, good art doesn't have to be, it's not necessary that you will invent the wheel or do something different. All you need to do is just do, and somehow there would be some kind of authenticity between who you are and what you do. In my case, I think it came from advertising as well. The thrive, the willing or the passion to come up with something that nobody did before. I mean, in advertising, if you come up with an idea and you find out that in Japan they have the same campaign, you just take it away and you try from scratch. The trying to do something a little different, and have some kind of dialogue with the front line of what happens in that area. For me, it's a value that makes good to me to know that somehow it's not exactly as other people do. Shony, Shony in Hebrew, Shony came from Gershon. My full name is Gershon Raphael Rivnay, but my father called me Shony as a nickname, and I changed it in the States legally. And Shony in Hebrew is different, so somehow I'm trying to be a little different. I don't know if it shows, but.
So you became an American citizen in the 1980s, or?
After those 7 years, I was so many years on green card, then I applied for citizenship for me and for my son. Yeah, it's not easy being Israeli and American citizen, financially wise.
Well, thank you so much, Shony. We really enjoyed the tour. We enjoyed meeting you in person, and we hope that you'll come to Cleveland at some point in the near future.
I will definitely come. I promise I will come. I love to come. I think about Cleveland for the last 3 years.
Well, I feel more encouraged if your son is going to be in New York, you'll come to Cleveland.
Yes, that's what I'm planning doing. Thank you, Erica. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate it.
Okay. Bye.
It's gone. Okay, he added so much meaning to his work by being with us by Zoom. It's amazing how much you can really understand when you're thousands of miles away with today's technology. He had a lot of time and tremendous amount of insight as to his work and just about life. To our audience here and virtually, thank you so much for spending time with us. And please mark your calendars for the next exhibition at the Row Green Gallery. If you thirst for a homeland, features flame-worked glass by artist Daphne Kaufman, who is also from Israel, and it's curated by Trudy Wiesenberger, who much of us know, and it opens on Sunday, May 22nd. Much like today, we'll welcome you at the gallery to view the works in person, and then we'll be joined by Daphne from Israel. We will send you an email invitation as we get closer to the date. And for continuous updates and more opportunities to experience Israeli arts and culture, please be sure to join the Cleveland Israel Arts Connection page on Facebook. There are so many interesting bits of information that you really need to know. Thank you again. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you, Debbie, for putting together this really wonderful program.
Thank you, Erica.